Hello, World of Jake 2012 here, and welcome to a little quickie where I discuss something that's been on my mind recently. It's been eating me up quite a lot lately, and I want to vent. Sometimes I think about Mrs. Brown's Boys, and honestly I end up despising it more and more each day. I just hate how oversaturated and popular it is, because I swear to God, where I am I cannot go into a single shop without seeing a DVD box set of Mrs. Brown's Boys, or even something like a calendar, mug, or card. It's got really popular airing on the BBC, and I don't understand why audiences eat this shit up, considering all it is just sex jokes and swearing all the time, and just gets really stale after 10 minutes. And if it wasn't that, it's also intentionally leaving outtakes in the episodes and breaking the fourth wall, which while it was pretty interesting and unique at first, it just lost its humor and charm, and the abundance of fourth wall humor and shit like Big Mouth or Velma doesn't help. To this day, I can't believe I used to be a big fan of the series, to the point I practically owned a complete set of Mrs. Brown's DVDs, as well as a pair of books. Yes, I used to watch these over and over again with a friend, and we loved the shit out of it. But as I grew older, I realized that the critics that gave it negative reviews might have some truth to them. Especially since I watched the first episode of the series at the start of 2023, and I didn't exactly laugh at any of it. And that made me really feel disappointed. It was a long time since I saw the series, though even when I picked up the third season of All Round to Mrs. Brown's, I felt reluctant to talk about it. But maybe, just maybe, I still enjoyed it. But nah. And then I rewatched the movie. I didn't see that movie since Christmas of 2014, and I actually did see it in the cinema. It is one of the absolute worst movies I've ever seen. It was really unfunny, really boring, full of cliches. I still can't get over how they wanted to make a spin-off based on Mr. Wang, one of the characters from the film who was essentially a stereotype. And even when they tried to make the movie more serious with more stakes, they still felt the need to make a bloody joke in the middle of it, with the aforementioned outtake humor. Even with the Russian spy villains. Yes, it's one of those movies. It was at this point that I decided to sell all my Mrs. Brown's DVDs to CEX, and I gave away my books to a store. Mrs. Brown's Boys sucks, plain and simple, and I honestly don't like Brendan O'Carroll's method of humor. I mean, it's basically an Irish version of Tyler Perry's Medea, and just as unfunny. I know I'm going to be called a hypocrite because I go on and shit on Mrs. Brown's Boys for its humor and writing, but there are people that say that all of Has-Been Hotel and Hell of a Boss's humor is just swearing and sex and shit writing, and I enjoy those. Except I'm going to defend the series because yes, while both those shows do have a lot of swearing, they do also try to have some kind of story and development, and they actually focus on that rather than constantly telling jokes. At least you don't see a Hell of a Boss episode and Blitz makes a fuck up in one of his lines and the characters laugh for a minute. And hey, when Hell of a Boss did its fourth wall joke, it was sort of clever and a commentary on how some people really love Luna.
Spring break is no place for young, vulnerable goth girls. You know, the kind of freaks up there who drool all over you.
And as for Has-Been Hotel, it's pretty much a similar thing. There is a good focus on story and characters, just as much as there is on humor. Plus they're all in hell, so of course they would swear more. And also, whenever they swear, it's not always supposed to be funny. So all I'm trying to say is that Brendan O'Carroll doesn't know how to balance out his stuff, while Vivian Medrano does. I feel more invested in the things that happen in Has-Been and Helva because they actually have a good balance between story and raunchiness. I care about the characters and I want to root for them because we see how they're like, and it develops as the series progresses. It's why I also enjoy movies like South Park Bigger, Longer and Uncut, Sausage Party, and Motherfuckers, because they still try to be a movie while still embracing its raunchy side. But I don't enjoy Fritz the Cat because it feels too raunchy and fails at being a movie since it feels so disjointed and difficult to follow. So yeah, Mrs. Brown's bad, watch Father Ted instead. Way better, funnier, timeless, and memorable. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. But it's a really good it's actually a really good show. It's a cult classic in my eyes anyway. It's alright. I thought it was pretty funny. It's probably I wouldn't say it's my favorite comedy. But I definitely say it's a runner-up anyway.
Shut up past me!